Have you ever been in a conversation and suddenly you can't remember a word? You know it's in your brain, but it just won't come out. It's so frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It feels like your brain just freezes up. But here's the thing. There's a reason this happens, and even better, there are ways to fix it.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to talk about today. How to train your brain to work better, whether it's remembering words, focusing, or staying sharp all day long.
Hello to our lovely listeners out there. Welcome to the English Leap podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Evan. If you're new here, this podcast is all about improving your English skills while discovering tips for a better, healthier life.
And today we're talking about training your brain for extraordinary performance. This includes sharpening your memory, improving focus, and even boosting your overall well-being.
But before we dive in, we've created something special for you. A free PDF guide to go along with this episode. It's packed with tips, a breakdown of key vocabulary, and even comprehension exercises to help you put what you learn into practice.
You can grab it through the link in the description. It's like having a personal English coach right at your fingertips.
So, make yourself comfortable. Grab your headphones, a cup of coffee, or your favorite drink, and get ready to unlock the secrets to extraordinary brain performance. We're diving into simple, practical steps to help your brain work smarter, not harder.
That's right. Let's dive in and make this fun and insightful.
Let's start with a big question. Have you ever thought about what happens to your brain as you age? Most of us focus on staying physically healthy, but what about our brain health?
That's such an important point, Evan. I mean, we rely on our brain for everything. Our mood, our focus, and even how we interact with others. But if we don't take care of it, things can go downhill fast.
Exactly. And the scary part is, if we're not proactive, our brain can actually get weaker with time, leading to issues like memory loss or even conditions like Alzheimer's.
Right. But here's the good news. There's so much we can do to keep our brain not just healthy, but thriving as we age. And Evan, you've mentioned before that this topic is personal for you, haven't you?
Yes, it is. I struggled a lot with anxiety and depression in my 30s, and there were times when I felt like my brain was completely working against me. That experience is what pushed me to learn how the brain works and what we can do to support it.
Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people will relate. And that's why today's discussion is so important. Because we're not just talking about science, we're talking about real ways to improve our lives.
So let's dive into one of the biggest culprits behind poor brain performance, glucose spikes. Erin, do you want to explain what those are?
Sure. A glucose spike happens when your blood sugar rises really fast after eating something sugary or processed. It gives you a quick burst of energy but then crashes, leaving you feeling tired, foggy, or even irritable.
And that crash is what we often call brain fog. It's like your brain is covered in clouds. You can't focus, your memory feels off, and even simple tasks feel harder.
Exactly. And repeated glucose spikes can also slow down the speed at which your brain cells communicate, something scientists call nerve conduction velocity. It's like a slow internet connection in your brain.
I remember reading about a study on breakfast habits. People who ate sugary breakfasts, like cereal or pastries, performed worse on memory and focus tests. But those who had balanced breakfasts, like eggs or whole grains, did much better.
That's fascinating. There's also a study with rats that showed repeated glucose spikes slowed down their brain cell communication. So it's not just about how we feel, it's affecting how our brain physically functions.
Right? So, if you've ever felt that post-meal slump or struggled to focus after eating something sweet, now you know why.
Speaking of sweet foods, Evan, let's talk about why so many of us crave sugary breakfasts. It's all about dopamine, isn't it?
Yes. When you eat something sweet, your brain releases dopamine, the pleasure hormone. It's that feel-good rush you get after eating a donut or drinking orange juice.
But here's the catch. Dopamine is short-lived. Once that rush fades, you're left feeling sluggish, and your brain starts to crave more sugar to feel good again.
Exactly. And this cycle can lead to more brain fog and less focus throughout the day. That's why swapping sugary breakfasts for savory ones, like eggs, avocado, or vegetables, can make such a difference.
I've noticed that myself. When I used to have sugary cereals for breakfast, I'd feel great for an hour but then crash hard. Now, with a savory breakfast, my energy stays steady all morning.
Same here. It's a small change, but one that really helps your brain stay sharp and focused.
You know, Evan, that reminds me. Glucose levels don't just affect focus or brain fog. They play a huge role in how we feel emotionally, too.
Absolutely. I've noticed that when I let myself get too hungry, I get so irritable. Everything feels harder to deal with, and I'm definitely not the nicest version of myself.
That's actually a common experience. When your blood sugar drops too low, your brain doesn't get enough energy, and it struggles to regulate emotions. That's why people often feel hangry, a mix of hungry and angry.
It makes so much sense. I remember reading about that study with married couples. The researchers measured how often people felt annoyed with their partners and found that those with stable glucose levels were much less irritated.
Oh yes. That study showed how directly our emotions are tied to our blood sugar levels. Couples with more stable glucose levels reported fewer arguments and better communication overall.
And it's not just couples. Parents who stabilize their glucose levels often notice they have more patience with their kids, and even their kids' moods improve. It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly. So it's not just about feeling better yourself. It's about improving your relationships and creating a calmer environment around you. And honestly, who wouldn't want that?
Speaking of feeling better, let's talk about mental health. Did you know that repeated glucose spikes can actually lead to anxiety and depression?
Yes. It's because those spikes cause inflammation, and that inflammation doesn't just stay in your body. It affects your brain, too. Over time, this can make it harder for your brain to regulate emotions.
I read about a study that linked insulin resistance, which is often caused by glucose spikes, to an 89% increased risk of developing major depression. That's a staggering number.
It really is. And for people who already struggle with mental health, glucose spikes can make their symptoms worse. But here's the good news. Stabilizing glucose levels is a powerful first step toward improving mental health.
That's so true. It doesn't solve everything, but it creates a foundation. Once your brain has the energy it needs, you can focus on other things like therapy, mindfulness, or even just enjoying your day more.
Exactly. For me, stabilizing my glucose levels was the first thing that helped me feel like I could take control of my mental health. It's such a simple change, but it makes a world of difference.
You know, Aaron, the connection between glucose and the brain is even bigger than most people realize. Have you heard that Alzheimer's is sometimes called type 3 diabetes?
Yes, it's because Alzheimer's is so strongly linked to insulin resistance in the brain. High glucose levels cause inflammation and damage over time, which can lead to cognitive decline.
There's a study that found people with high glucose levels in their midlife were much more likely to develop Alzheimer's later on. It's scary, but it also shows how much power we have to prevent it.
Exactly. And the hopeful part is that dietary changes can help. Some studies even show that certain types of cognitive decline can be reversed if you start eating in a way that stabilizes your glucose.
That's incredible. So even if someone is already noticing memory issues, it's not too late to make changes that could help their brain.
Not at all. Simple steps like eating whole foods, moving after meals, and avoiding sugary snacks can make a big difference. The earlier you start, the better. But it's never too late to protect your brain.
That's such a powerful message. Our choices today can shape our brain health for years to come.
All right, Evan. Now let's get into the part I think everyone's been waiting for. Practical hacks to keep glucose levels steady and boost brain performance.
We've been talking a lot about starting your day with a savory breakfast instead of a sugary one, and I hope by now it's clear why that's such a game changer for your brain. But there's more you can do to keep those glucose levels steady throughout the day.
Exactly. One of my favorite hacks is starting meals with vegetables. It's such a simple habit, but it makes a huge difference. The fiber in the veggies slows down how your body absorbs sugar, so you don't get those big glucose spikes.
I do the same. A small salad or some steamed veggies before the main meal is all it takes. It's such a small shift, but it helps your brain stay sharp and focused.
Another one I found really helpful is managing when you eat sweets. I used to grab a chocolate bar as a mid-afternoon snack, but now I have my desserts right after meals.
That's a smart move. When you eat sugar on an empty stomach, it hits your bloodstream fast, causing a spike. But after a meal, the other food slows it down, so your blood sugar stays more stable.
And don't forget about moving after meals. Even something as simple as a 10-minute walk can help your body process the food better and prevent those post-meal crashes.
It's amazing how small actions, like a savory breakfast, a veggie starter, or moving after meals, can have such a big impact on your brain's performance and overall health.
You know, Evan, these hacks aren't just about feeling better today. They're about protecting our brain for the future.
Absolutely. When we stabilize our glucose, we're not just preventing those midday slumps. We're reducing the risk of long-term problems like cognitive decline and diseases like Alzheimer's.
And it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff. Stable glucose levels help us feel more focused, balanced, and productive every single day.
Exactly. It's like giving your brain the fuel it needs to perform at its best, not just now, but for years to come. And studies show that even if someone is already experiencing memory issues, lifestyle changes can slow or even reverse some of that decline.
That's such a powerful message. Knowing that our choices today shape our brain health for years to come. It's never too late to start making those changes.
And the earlier we start, the greater the benefits. It's all about consistency, small, daily habits that lead to long-term results.
Exactly. And you know, Evan, we've talked about so many important concepts today, and I think it's a good time to break down some of the key terms we've used, just to make sure our listeners have a solid understanding.
Great idea. And for that, let's hand things over to Charlotte for our vocabulary breakdown section.
Hi everyone, it's Charlotte here, and I'm here to make sure you're all caught up with some of the important vocabulary and expressions from today's episode. Let's break it down. Freezing up, meaning becoming unable to act or think due to nervousness or fear. Example: during the interview, I froze up and couldn't answer the simplest question. Proactive, meaning taking action to solve a problem before it happens. Example: she's very proactive about her health and exercises regularly to stay fit. Alzheimer, meaning a disease that affects the brain, causing memory loss and difficulty thinking. Example: her grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and sometimes forgets familiar faces. Downhill, meaning becoming worse or declining. Example: after the injury, his performance in sports went downhill. Thriving, meaning doing very well or growing successfully. Example: the plants in her garden are thriving because she waters them daily. Anxiety, meaning a feeling of worry or nervousness about something. Example: he felt a lot of anxiety before his big presentation at work. Depression, meaning a state of deep sadness or a mental condition that makes it hard to feel happy. Example: after losing his job, he experienced a period of depression. Cognitive decline, meaning a gradual decrease in the brain's ability to think, remember, or make decisions. Example: cognitive decline is common in old age, but staying mentally active can help slow it down. Culprits, meaning the cause of a problem or the one responsible for something bad. Example: the main culprit behind his constant tiredness was his poor diet. Spikes, meaning sudden increases or rises in something. Example: the spikes in his blood sugar levels were caused by eating too much candy. Crash, meaning a sudden drop in energy or performance after a high. Example: After drinking a lot of coffee in the morning, she experienced an energy crash by the afternoon. Slump, meaning a period of low activity, energy, or mood. Example: he was in a slump after failing his exam but eventually started studying harder. Sluggish, meaning moving or acting more slowly than usual. Example: I felt sluggish all morning because I didn't sleep well last night. That's it for today's vocabulary breakdown. I hope these explanations and examples help you understand the key terms we've been discussing. Remember, you can find all of these words and more in our free PDF guide linked in the description. Now let's get back to Erin and Evan.
Thanks, Charlotte. That was so helpful. I love how she breaks everything down into such simple and clear explanations.
Absolutely. Having those definitions and examples really helps connect the dots, especially when we're talking about something as important as brain health.
And with that, I think it's time to wrap things up. We've shared some great tips today, from understanding glucose spikes to practical hacks for keeping your brain sharp and focused.
Exactly. The key takeaway? Small, consistent changes, like eating smarter and moving more, can make a big difference for your brain health.
And don't forget, you can download our free PDF guide for more tips, vocabulary, and exercises. It's linked in the description.
Thanks for joining us on the English Leap podcast. We hope today's episode helps you take the first step toward extraordinary brain performance.
Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.